Ladies and gentlemen, now in today's video, I want to talk about the 7-star Cosmic Egg Relic and whether or not Kabam should be considering doing more champion buffs using the Relic system. I want to talk what I believe are some of the biggest pros of this and also potentially some cons as well, because I think not everything is perfect with, buffing a character via the Relic system, and especially with the format of this event, there are some cons and drawbacks as well. And I don't want to see every champion buffed using the Relic system as well. I just want to throw that out there. But I think kind of a few a year would hit a really, really good spot, because there are some really cool things you can do with Relics that they have really kind of tapped into with this Venom the Duck one, because this is the first relic that is all about one specific character. Many of the existing relics, you have the Hulkbuster one, the Venom one, these work primarily so well with certain characters like Venom or Guardian, but they can be used to synergize with a lot of champions in a lot of different ways. But these are like very specific relics if they continue to go down this route with the Cosmic one, that's entirely focused on just kind of like smoothing out the kit and making it a lot more enjoyable. Because what the Venom the Duck one does is it just adds consistency to reactivate the buffs. It makes that ramp up so much more enjoyable, but it also gives the player like this element of choice, right? You can customize how you're going to start every single quest with Venom the Duck. And this is really, really powerful in terms of like how you're playing this character. Because like in Realm of Legends, we were going for the Fury and Crit. I saw some other people have been going like Fury and Power Gain right off the base. But for a more defensive quest, when we were doing the objective, trying to get a solo, we were going for stuff like, the regeneration and the Power Gain. But that customization of like how you start the fight, kind of being baked in, that you don't need to activate before every single fight. Like some pre-fight abilities, Mr. Fantastic is kind of the perfect example of this. Every single fight you do in Mr. Fantastic, it's like, okay, I get to the next opponent, I need to activate 1, 2, 3, like all of the pre-fight abilities. Like, what happens if there was a relic that just automatically activated all of those and meant that you didn't need to worry about like the charge system anymore? Maybe something like that could be very interesting if you were playing around with Mr. Fantastic. Obviously, there's a few more details to how his pre-fight works, but just as an example like that, sometimes the pre-fight abilities in longer quests with certain characters can be very tedious to activate over and over again, and just having some sort of auto activation criteria based on how you set up the relic, it could be really, really good and just make that character, just more enjoyable to play overall. So yeah, let's get up a list of pros and cons that I've written down, and please in the comment section below share your thoughts and opinions, because I think this is the first time Kabam have done this. I think there's a really good chance they're going to be reading like some of the top comments on this video and taking that into consideration when they're looking at what champions they're going to be buffing next year and beyond, and how they're going to go about doing that. So let's talk about the pros. Now, the first one is, I think, and again, this is purely just like a personal thing, this is a cool way to do buffs, in my opinion, because it feels like you have earned the buff. It's like, okay, if you're playing an MMO, for example, right, you could just get a more powerful sword in the mailbox, or you could go into a dungeon, you could fight some bosses, and then you get the powerful sword. And sometimes it's just nice to earn things in a game. We like to play, we like to have fun, and it's just kind of like this cool memory you have if the challenge wasn't completely traumatizing. And sometimes even if it is a little traumatizing, it makes it all that more memorable as well, but I thought this challenge, for me personally, it wasn't too bad. I had kind of like a couple of practice warm-ups on the first couple of fights, but then Juggernaut, I think, really carried the Venom the Duck for me. I've heard some people having bad experiences, but mainly on the Venom the Duck with reverse controls. But to be fair, like all of the bosses do present a bit of a challenge out there. So yeah, this a bit anecdotal, that one, but I think it's pretty cool. Now, the next one is they can be used to add meaningful customization to specific champion kits. So this is kind of what I love about relics and the slots, is like this feels so specific to the character. And just think about any other scenario where you just might want like a bit more customization. You might want something from the synergy to kind of influence like how, you know, Venom mutates as an example. But there's just so many different layers depending on the characters that you're looking at, where you could like swap things in and out in a very similar fashion to like how pre-fights work or synergies work. It's something that, you know, is permanently bound to the character, and then you just set it up and then it's there. So I think that's a really cool thing. And relics also, as I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier, they just can be used to remove like annoyance and repetition from kind of existing characters that have ramping kits and pre-fights. And with relics as well, I think you could probably, I mean, they already do this in kits like Cull Obsidian, for example, but you can go into more detail of like, you know, in Battlegrounds, for example, Blade counts, you know, all villains and Mystic champions as dimensional beings. So he gets that additional bonus, he gets the danger sense. You've just got lots of interesting things that you could do and customization that you could add in on the relic layer if you wanted to. So yeah, I think it would be pretty pretty cool for certain champion buffs and upgrades. Now, this also is a really big one as well, because, you know, we've got two buffs that have come out. Well, one that has just come out, right, which is the Rhino buff, historic buff, that one. But we've also got the Punisher buff coming. Now, if I'm thinking back to all of the existing content in the game, Punisher and Rhino are two characters that do appear fairly frequently, right? They're just all over the place. And I'm curious now, like, how it feels going through the earlier game and find the buffed up version of Rhino, dude, because his unstoppable uptime is absolutely ridiculous. And he's also got the crush as well. So that's kind of one of the interesting things the relics can be used for, is if you buff a character via relic as well, it doesn't impact defender strength for permanent game content. So I think this, you know, can be a pro for just kind of maintaining the accessible onboarding of like the early game of Marvel Contest of Champions. Because yeah, thinking about like the next time I want to do a new account challenge, dude, I'm going to be dreading those rhinos. Usually Rhino was, it's Rhino, dude, we just take that path, but need to you know, consider that matchup a lot more carefully. And Punisher, just playing the buffed up defender version, is a little bit brutal as well, and I just know he is all over the early game of Marvel Contest of Champions. So yeah, that is one of the ways of, like, you know, buffing characters via a relic. If it's just in a quest and it doesn't have a relic, then you don't need to maybe worry about that specific thing. And also, you know, now relics work defensively in Battlegrounds as well. So it is just something to keep in mind, that they can still add value to these on a defensive front and kind of limit that to Battlegrounds for maybe the really sweaty people. But yeah, it's just something to think about that I think, you know, can be a pro for this. So I think also one of the fun things about, you know, doing a challenge is it's like both earning the buff and then, you know, the challenges can be separated, and this one is too a little bit, but you've only really got one fight, right? So it's like you both earn the buff and then you get to use that buffed up champion in a specific challenge or a boss. So I think this is really cool because it just kind of makes you initially appreciate maybe some of the value or utility that that character has in a specific scenario. Because sometimes, like, a character is buffed, right? But then you don't really have anywhere to, like, play that character or do anything that special for a while. And that's why, like, a lot of buffs tend to fall to the wayside unless they are, like, that buff, you know, for Battlegrounds, for high tier Alliance War. They're just something amazing, like Anti-Venom, Cull Obsidian, Viv, you know, immediately were just doing some insane things in Battlegrounds. So got very brought into the spotlight. But there was, you know, the three other champions. What was it? Dr. Voodoo, Sabretooth, I can't even remember the last one. Was it a skill champion? Yeah, I'm missing another character. But yeah, that, you know, when you have these big batches as well, sometimes like character buffs can be a little bit lost if they don't have like that immediate headline performance. And you just don't really get the chance to kind of dig in and appreciate that. So yeah, that's why I kind of like the structure of like having a challenge, an event. It's definitely nice for once in a while. Now, the cons. Let's talk about the bad ways of doing this. So there's probably more as well, but these are just a few that I've written down here. a limited window of availability. So players that miss out may not be able to get these relics for a very long time. Like, it's a good point, right? You know, yeah, people in December are going to be pulling 7-star version of Venom the Duck for the first time, and if they did not do this quest, if they did not participate in any of the event, if they don't even have the 6-star version of the relic, when are they going to be able to get it? When does the challenge come back? So I think that is like a really good one to consider as well. Also, the next con as well is lower star versions without access to the relic do not get to experience the buff. So yeah, this is you know, something to keep in mind as well. If you have the 4 or 5-star version of Venom the Duck, you've just started playing, you're already hyped, you've seen all these great videos, and oh, I actually need the relic to, you know, play this character a lot more efficiently. Maybe that doesn't feel so good. Granted, I think in the current state of the game, it is very, very quick to get to the 6-star champion level, at least now. But, you know, just something for a very brief window in the start of the game there. And, yeah, the con as well. Again, it's kind of the opposite of my first point. Like, some people, and I don't blame them, like, I also love this sometime where you just log in and the champion is buffed. And this is why I don't think, like, every character should be buffed using relics. But I think there are certain scenarios where it could be really fun to do this again. I would love to see this revisited. So yeah, you just have to get the relic instead of you just log in and the champion is buffed. Because yeah, sometimes that is convenient. They're just like super hype. You're really looking forward to going in and smashing a load of content, and that is a good time. And I guess like the fourth con is like, maybe if Kabam did go down this avenue, there's going to be, you know, some degree of heavy monetization involved in some sort of capacity. Whatever that would be, yeah, just remains to be speculated on. But I really like this specific format of doing a challenge, getting a relic, especially when it's a relic that just feels, you know, so interesting and impactful for the particular character. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share my points on what I believe are some of the pros and cons of buffing champions via relics. Again, it's not something I want to see all of the time, but I would be very open to seeing like 2 or 3 of these a year. And I would also love to see kind of like our back issues style of backlog quests, where if you weren't around for the debut of this, it comes back after a few months' time, and then you have the ability to get the relic again. I think this kind of content would probably be more timeless than, you know, any sort of other piece of content, because it is linked to buffing up a character, right? It's that core piece of power, the core pillar that really accelerates. Like, we could get to a 7-star rank 6 plus 11 ascended level of Venom the Duck, and this relic would still be relevant. It would still be the thing that you need to equip. So I think it's kind of like interesting, long-lasting content that could, you know, really serve a period of time. And then, you know, when it gets to, let's say, you know, 2040, we're looking at the 8-star rank 7 ascended 17 Venom the Duck. They can add in like just an additional difficulty or layer to that challenge as well. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, just some thoughts there on buffing characters or relics. Hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.